All right, peace and love, beautiful souls. We are here. We are gathered here tonight under this new moon in Cancer energy, as we are ingressing into the sign of Cancer astrologically under the sun. And this normally happens every time we move into a new astrological sign. When one ends, another one begins. It normally begins with a new moon. All right. And that's why we get to the full culmination of that energy when we get into the full moon aspects. All right. So that's why you'll have a sign starting off with a new moon. And then before you know it, we kind of move into a full moon energy after that, which shows the kind of illumination of the energy. That's why the a full moon deals with the opposite of the sign being in the moon. The new moon deals with the moon being in the same sign. Hence, the sun and the moon are conjunct. Now, these conjunctions cause a lot of influences on different levels depending on where the moon is. Knowing that the moon is a satellite, and all this good shit, it's very dynamic when we understand our relationship with the moon. All right. And also, we know that the moon is connected to Cancer, the sign of Cancer. All right. The moon rules the sign of Cancer. All right. Now, when you deal with this is very, very powerful when we understand, you know, the nature of us. Okay. It's like when we begin to feel, and now y'all, anybody that's done heard me talk, you've heard me speak about the mother, the womb, even understanding the power of our own mitochondrial DNA, right? When you begin to understand how we feel and the energy of our souls, right? When you begin to see how connected we are through emotions and how nothing ever happens in this reality without us feeling some shit. Think about how us as black people, right, just literally as melanated people, right, I got to make this correlation because the way we move with the way we feel with music, the rhythms, this also has something to do with called polyrhythms, all right? Now, this is something that has been proven by a professor named Gabriel Ayibo, right? Now he used to work for NASA and all type of other stuff. You can look him up. He came up with something called the Gaga theorem. All right. Now, when you deal with this, the spiritual aspects behind the Gaga theorem is like G equals J comma 0 comma J. Basically, it's like an equation and a theorem and not a theory. Now, the theorem is because it was proven, right? And when you talking about what is proven, he was able to use the aspect of what we know as polyrhythms in connection to our DNA, right? And how that is connected to the natures of the rhythm of nature, and how that is connected to how we pick up on sound and vibration, right? You had another scholar that came out long ago, and his name was Malachi York, right? And he talked about the power of the thymus, right? He talked about the power of the thymus and the thyroid and all that good stuff, and talking about the power that we are nine ether beings, right? Being that we hold on to our thymus gland, right, which regulates our hormones and all that kind of stuff that deals a lot with our thyroid, right? Now, he even discovered, or he made a scientific discovery, I would say, which was later backed by science, the fact that we hold on to that gland and that allows us to operate on a different level hormonally, right? So the hormones of us, right? Now I ain't gonna get into certain studies that they did when the black soldiers came back and they would wonder why their bodies wouldn't decompose as fast as the white soldiers. So I'm just telling you about how people over time, this is not a race thing. I'm not talking in the aspect of just pointing out races. I'm talking to a biochemical connection, right? And how that connects to ancient times, right? When you're talking about the ancient times in the city of Kemet, right? And Cometian astrology, Kemetic astrology, right? This is when you get into the earliest systems of when we deal with the Tropic of Capricorn, the Tropic of Cancer, right? Capricorn is more rigid, more cold, more aspect of about rulership, and more so about setting boundaries and authority and your public image. And Cancer is all about home and family and love and togetherness and emotional bonding. If Capricorn energy don't have time to feel shit. You get what I'm saying? So now you're dealing with the opposition in astrology. Now, why is it that they would start um how they would start the wheel of astrology with Cancer, right? Cancer as the fourth house, and how this will start the aspect of the wheel. Now, knowing that we come from the womb of creation. Now, I pointed this out earlier if I was in the clubhouse room with me, because I talked about how everybody in this reality, everybody walking this plane of existence came from a womb, right? Now, when you talking about how we all came from the water we came, to the waters we shall return. Now, when you're talking about how this correlates to memory, right? And how this correlates to the mitochondria DNA, right? This is telling us how we can develop, I would say, a gene. Even when I go into the Eve gene, the evening, or you talking about how you can have a black man can have sex with a person that's not of our race, and that child comes out black. How a black woman can still birth a white child, right? And then when you talking about the power of this is going back into a lot of ancient times on how the first body that was ever found, and y'all gonna look up the science on this, what I'm telling you. The first remains of the first body that was ever found was that of a black woman, right? Now, when you talking about the mother of civilization, this is where I'm going with this, right? And the cradle of civilization, right? And how the womb represents the cradle of civilization, right? And how now we talking about consciousness, we talking about the Sophia, right? And the wisdom behind the masculine principle, how she as the XX birth to XY, right? And how it is only through feeling, it is only through emotion, it is only through us going through something that can damn near break you, that can damn near make you want to check out of this motherfucking life, right? When it is only when you're experiencing something that can challenge you so internally to where it opens you up to receiving something different, you know? When you talking about the power of us using our emotions and how we feel to navigate this reality, this is some very powerful shit when you're talking about the energy of Cancer, all right? Because this energy is the whole essence of our body, and why we can deal with why we came through the ambiotic fluids of our mother, the fluids of the womb, the bowels had to break, the waters had to let us in, right? So we were ambiotic, we were amphibious before we came into this reality, because we all came from the womb of a mother. So this is the correlation I really want us to think about Cancer and the depths of that, the symbolism behind Cancer, because Cancer may show up in your chart in a lot of different ways, even depending on if you have any fourth house placements. I'm going to highlight a lot of those tonight. And of course, you will be all be getting the PDF that will kind of show you a lot of that as well. You might not have got it right now, but you will be getting it with the replay, of course. And that'll help you out with seeing exactly what I'm talking about. I'll be going through the PDF myself. That way you'll kind of get a visual of that. And first of all, I want to also let you know that if you want to get a more in-depth reading, or a more in-depth look for your own personal breakdown, because I'm doing a lot of general stuff tonight. All right, of course you're gonna hear a lot of stuff that resonates and correlates to your life, but I really want to let you know if you want a more in-depth breakdown, you're going to be able to get that by paying a $99 fee to get your own breakdown of this transit and how it means to your life, what it means to your chart. All right, so if you want a more personal breakdown, make sure you book that. And of course, I always open it up to people. If you cannot afford the $99, make sure you inbox me or let me know, text me or whatever, and I will work with you and kind of give you, what you what you could pay for, but I still will make sure that you get a nice breakdown, and it'll be a personalized ritual attached with it. I also be going over the power of Jupiter in your chart because Cancer, Jupiter just moved into Cancer. All right. Now, one of the main things is I want to kind of touch on some more of this aspect of the Cancerian nature, especially of people who are so-called of African descent, whatever the case may be. Now, this doesn't mean that everybody came straight out of Africa, right? We got a lot of people that's indigenous to the Americas, all right, but that's a whole nother Zoom. Now, when you're talking about why people of our how we are of nature of that Cancerian motherly energy, right? If you think about how the even the role of black women throughout societal structure, the nannies, right, and the mothers, the ones that would come nurture. Hell, a lot of just straight up, a lot of the slave masters, a lot of our great grandparents, or if your grandparents was a slave or wasn't a slave or whatever the case may be, a lot of them used to use slaves, right, to nurse their children, right? You talking about a lot of them used to have the slaves cook for their children, right? Being raised by them, right? You had to teach the slave how to eat, and I mean how to clean and cook and read and shit, just so they can make the slave more, I would say, usable to keep their own goddamn children. So I'm telling you about how even in ancient times, even them folks couldn't deny, even as a slave, they couldn't deny your energy as a mother and as a nurturer. Okay, that power has always been evident because it's cosmically influenced. Even when you're talking about Sirius, because you bring in Sirius constellation, this is where the Kemetic astrology comes into play. And this as with a lot of the agricultural spiritual Europe beginning with Sirius, this kind of deals with why we would deal with the aspects of Cancer starting the wheel in Kemetic astrology, right? Because that moment of rebirth. It's also deal with when it was made, because so big so big. It's like dealing with the alligator and also dealing with the hippopotamus, right? And now this is also when you see this depiction in the walls, or even when you see this correlation of the pictures of the hieroglyphs, I would say. All right. Now the now first swelled when life giving water. Now that's going to be an aspect of Cancer, right? The mother, the birthing. The moment announced for rebirth of land of the gods is kind of when you start thinking about this. So Cancer became the first gate of the sky. These were once considered stellar gates. Now I'm gonna kind of talk about this tonight because I'll be talking about the seven sisters of the Pleiades star system, and we had the moon align with this energy on the 23rd. All right, that was just a couple of days ago. So the first gate of the sky became Cancer, and that was represented not by the crab but by the scarab beetle. I want y'all to really, I'm gonna say that one more time. Whenever you see the scarab beetle in Kemetic, right, Africa, Egypt, and all that, what we know is that, but it's actually Kemet. That depiction is actually the old depiction of Cancer. All right. So this is why we love the Kepler, and we get into tune with the Kepler beetle and how it will follow the sun's path. That force that rolls the sun out of the darkness each dawn, renewing and creation itself. This is why the Kepler or the dung beetle was known to follow the constellation of the Milky Way, right, which is a correlation of the Nile River in the sky across the desert, right? The Nile was all about the beginning of every human life, right? That's like when the waters. You see Lion King, everything meets at the waters, right? This is like the beginning of human living traces of the first traces of human life, I would say. So this is also the earliest high civilization sprang up along the Nile. All right, I'm giving you a background of how Cancer really started, the true origins of Cancer, not this Western shit. Okay, now, because of the earliest high civilization sprung up along the Nile River, right? This is going back to the African civilization. Like that's why it was nicknamed, because that first matriarchal, that maternal line, back to an African woman nicknamed mitochondrial Eve. All right, you can look this up. All right. Now, Africa is revered as the womb of humanity, right? Tell me I'm wrong. Now, calling black people Cancerian, therefore, it brings together a couple of ideas: the maternal origin, the global family, the literal mother line, right? The African, the mtDNA, which is handed down through the solely through the mothers. You only get this mitochondria through the mother. So the nurturing, the watery power, the same qualities that Cancer embodies in astrology, right? Even in Kemetic astrology, Cancer as the first true sign, because in Greek that opens up with Aries, kind of what we did with the spring equinox. Okay, Kemetic priests along that and dealing with the Jedi priesthood and things like that, right? This is dealing with the Jed, even Tahuti and all this good stuff. This is organized around that time of the flood of the South, the flood cycle of the Nile River. So when Sirius became the morning star, mid-July, this is why they call that mid-July into August the dog days of summer, y'all, because it aligns with this dog star, which is Sirius B, and it's also going to be in alignment with Sirius A. Now, this is why a lot of those, especially in ancient Egypt, the sun was entering Cancer. A lot of those temples, right, that we see the Tekken and the obelisks, a lot of these things resurrected or marked the time, that time of the year. So the New Year was celebrated with the scarabs and amulets. You get what I'm saying? Like that was with the Happy New Year prayer. So New Year started in July for the Kemetic people, right? Whenever they began to understand that the morning star, which is also a correlation of Venus, right, connected to Sirius, began to rise in connection with the constellation of Cancer. All right. So you see the Kephara, the scarab, that's like recreation, gestation, mothering, the Sirius rising, the now begins to flood, the dawn of the new year, right? And that's going to deal with the solar principle of Cancer and the sun pushed up from the Duat, the
Yeah,
underworld,
water
right?
base.
So they would call that the doo-wop, the underworld, and all that good stuff when you're talking about Cancerian energy. And that's what has a lot to do with the Taquet Renpet, the opening of the year, right? And that would be Tequetrenpet. That was the opening of the year. That was kind of when you deal with speaking the meta nature and all that good stuff. So I used to speak that early on in my journey. I just got real deep off into comedic science and all that good stuff. But honoring the indigenous kind of, lunar, cyclical nature of us, rather than the copying the Greek convention type shit. Because when you're dealing with the scarab to the mitochondria, you're dealing with the waters of noon now, right? That is giving birth to creation. The Nile floods each year, right? Africa as a cradle, Africa dealing with the cradle of civilization, even the cycles of planting and harvest, right? These are the rites of Osita, Isis, Yamaya, right? Mami Wata, right? The Sibyls, right? This is also dealing with the scarab rolling the solar egg, you know? So, like when you're dealing with the moon's 28-day mirror and the gestation and how it goes through that, these are the cycles of planning. This is our sit, mommy water energy, Isis energy. All right. So you're dealing with the womb and the amniotic waters, the breast milk, right? The motherhood, the clan, the lineage, community care. Everything is built off community and care and lineage in this reality. You cannot escape it. Everything that we talk about is what somebody leaves behind. So when you talk about even under the scarabs under electronic microscope or electron microscope, right? They produce ATP. That's the fire of life. I'm giving you some real science behind this Cancerian energy here, all right? The scarab that deals with this luminous orb, right? It's like an ancient metaphor for the inner suns. The scarab carries the inner sun. That has a lot to do with the ATP. Okay. Now, when you're dealing with rhythmic memory, Cancer rules memory, right? Like a lot of times when you preserve culture, this is the oracles. This is why we used to get knowledge handed down from the oracles. It wasn't about what was written in a book, all right? That came with Western colonization. Now, when you talking about even in Ethiopia and a lot of things, not saying that they didn't write things down, but they scribed them. They didn't view it as writing. They would scribe something totally different from writing something based off your own experience versus scribing something that comes from a divine place, that we call downloads and all this kind of shit. So even drum, chanting, call and response music. Think about the slave music. It was all call and response. Oh, go down by the river, you gonna see the blue. Oh, I see it coming. It's the call and response. There was messages to each other. See, this how dope we was. How we use music for communication. Think about what we do now today. Think about how music heavily influences us. This is all Cancerian shit I'm giving him. All right. Because of course you're gonna mix that with Mercury, which Gemini and Cancer. Gemini goes right into Cancer, which is not a coincidence. So you're dealing with ancestral veneration when you deal with cancer, right? You also going to bring in a lot of the healing arts. Just going to bring in midwife, herbal baths, and womb rituals, and all this good stuff, right? Cancerian crafts, right? The Nile River or the Nile Valley, even the Gullah Sea lands, the Gullah Geechee people, right? I ain't gonna get too deep off into going into a lot of the phenoms and all of these different types that have been birthed from the Nile River. A lot of different civilizations have birthed and they've trickulated through what we call as the Americas. So honoring the mother bloodline is one of the main reasons why they make you in America drop your mother's name and pick up your father's. All right, it's one of the main reasons why they tell you in America in the Bible that you have a Father, Son, and a Holy Ghost. It's one of the main reasons why they depict the woman as evil and Eve as the one who was tempted in the garden and made the man bite the apple, and now she's subjugated to having a cycle for the rest of her life as punishment. Not ever saying she got a cycle because she connect to the moon and the cycles of this motherfucking planets, and and that is correlating to why she has the womb of creation and why did God deem her as the vessel that all life must come through. Like, they just tell you that it's evil and you bleed every month because you are the equivalent to a snake in the grass, and you can't be trusted, and your nature is something that a man can't trust. And now we talking about the witch hunts, and the I always say they killed over 6.2 million women. That number stuck with me. That's why I say it so goddamn much. In the Salem witch trials, how they began to take away anybody that was worshiping a goddess, how they would literally take away your village, just let's take away your whole belief systems. And now here we is over here talking about Jesus is your man. How many women in love with, don't get me started. This ain't that kind of Zoom. But when you start understanding the power of how you've been given something spiritually, there's your cancer. See, so the creating an emotional safe space, right? Even cycle tracking, right? A lot of women don't even track their cycles. You know when it's coming, but you don't know how it's connected to the moon. First quarter moon, is it for action? The full moon for harvest, last quarter for release, new moon, gestation or germination. So why are you having your cycle during the new moon? Is your intuition increasing? Or are you going through releasing? Or are you going through certain emotional times in your body or in your life where it happens in the first 28 days? And now here comes your cycle starting during a new moon, which is a white cycle. Or does it start during a full moon, which is a red cycle? Are you ovulating during a new moon? Are you ovulating during a full moon? See, this can tell you a lot about the connection that you have in your Cancerian nature. All right. Because just like the Nile floods, so does your womb. This ain't just with water, it floods with blood too. Right? So the womb, from the womb to the tomb, baby. Right? So when you're talking about something new, this is what we're dealing with when we deal with the new moon. All right. And that's why I really want y'all to really understand the power of the scarab beetle, that connection to us as being Cancerian people by nature, and how divinely connected we are to a lot of these things when it comes to astrological influence. All right. So with that being said, I'm gonna go into the PDF right now. Now, before I do that, now I know I just said a lot of stuff. Anybody got any questions about what I just said or any realizations you want to share from that? Okay. All right, now. Let me see here. Boom. Can y'all see my screen?
Yeah.
Big, big, big. All right. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, of course, is dealing with this new moon. It's going to be also, we've been talking about this Kazemi. All right. And of course, the Kazemi aspects is just going to tell us a lot about why something falls into the heart of the sun. All right. And of course, we're dealing with a conjunction between the sun and the moon. So this is going to deal with a portal of a water portal of rebirth, expansion, and ancestral healing that is happening with this placement or with this alignment here today. All right, so Kazemi from an Arabic aspect, it means the in the heart of the sun. That occurs when the planet aligns within 1.7 degrees of the sun, creating that alchemical purity. So it is not a combustion where a planet is weakened. A Kazemi, a planet is exalted and infused with divine solar light, It's like it's also a place to where like imagine you've been running and running and running. Imagine planets that's going through cycles and cycles, right? Jupiter touches every zodiac sign, right, once a year, right? So it just goes through this bitch, goes through these cycles. All these planets go through these cycles. And then it's like, imagine running a marathon and then you finally finna get to the end, but it's not ready to end. You finna get ready to start a whole new cycle, but you need to be rejuvenated. You need to be replenished. You need to be, that's the personal characteristics I give with this, right? So depending on where your cycles are and how this Kazemi meets you, this can be a replenishing, a renewal. You get what I'm saying? Now you bring in the energy of the water energy with that. Now we talking about a renewal of the memory and a renewal of the sacred womb of memory, right? So that's the birth of divine truth within the sacred womb of memory. That's how I wanted to look at this. So that's why you will see a lot of womb resurrection, divine feminine healing, rebirth of the inner child, right? The soul and memory, even the messianic wisdom from within, right? So that's kind of dealing with how we kind of come into our own messiah energy, right? Now that's the emotional expansion, the cellular restoration. Now the guru is in the gut. Now a lot of people won't tell you this, okay? But the guru is in the gut, right? That's an initiation as a higher knowing. The guru is not in the mind, it's in the gut. So hitting the mother wounds and also the matrilineal trauma, right? The chakra recalibration of the nervous system is what I'm going to be focused on within this PDF or within this tonight. All right. So when you're talking about the manager, the messiah, the moon, the sacred symbolism and sacred symbology, Cancer, the sign of the manager, right? A lot of people in managerial position end up having the signs of Cancer. Depends on where you got Cancer in your chart. So it's a place of sacred incubation, humility, and divine birth. So, in many esoteric Christian teachings, Jesus was born in a manger, symbolic of the Christ consciousness born in the soul. Now, really a historical event. Cancer also ruled by the moon and the mother womb and the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant. Jupiter as the teacher, the Messiah, the divine child, the guru. When he was born in the manger of Cancer, and the spirit is being birthed through matter. So when y'all done heard me say this before, they say Jesus was born of a virgin. Pisces, sun, Virgo, moon. And you ain't got to believe in astrology for it to be real. I'm just giving you an esoteric look into what this scripture done told you, what this Bible has taught us. All right. And if you allow your mind to expand, it'll make sense to you if you let it resonate in your soul. I'm speaking to Jupiter and Cancer here still. Now, when you talking about that energy of saying, okay, now the child was born in a manger. The sign of Cancer rules manger. All right. So when you talking about manager, manger, right? Managing something, mother must manage, right? The manger becomes the home. The manger is also your body or the place where consciousness is birthed, right? Now this is also going to deal with the word became flesh and dwelt among us. John 1 and 14. So when you talk about the activation of the very principle of divine consciousness taking root within human memory and the womb and feeling, that's what John 1 and 14 is about. Because cancer in the mitochondrial DNA, cancer rules the womb and the stomach, but spiritually it holds dominion over matrilineal lineage, right? Now, when you talk about the mitochondrial DNA and inherited from the mother only, right, it is the biological memory of our maternal ancestry. When you talking about the moon with Jupiter reactivates deep soul memories, ancestral talents, womb trauma, and the healing wisdom encoded in ourselves. So Jupiter in Cancer, that's the guru in the womb. Okay. So, this is also going to deal with soul nourishing, wisdom, gentle yet expansive growth, right? Intuition as the highlighted, right, or the highest intellect, right? Not the shit that you done gathered. Intuition is the highest intellect. I really don't want y'all to miss that. Intellect matched with intuition. Intuition becomes the highest intellectual property. It takes over the memory, right? It begins to merge with the memory versus being corrupted by the memory. I give you one example of somebody intuition corrupted by the intellect instead of allowing it to operate in the highest form of your intellect. Somebody feels something and it blocks them from truly understanding, right? Or let's just say you get an intuitive pull on something ain't right, something don't feel right, something in your gut, and then your mind kick in and tell you tripping. And then you let somebody tell you that you tripping. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of this. Think about how many times you done gaslit your goddamn self, though. Think about how many times you didn't honor how you felt. See, a lot of people hear these words and you think somebody else is only capable of doing this shit to you. Not even aware of how you done it to yourself, which opens up the door and the possibility for another person to come do it to you. Because you know already done it to your goddamn self. See, when you stop lying to yourself, see, these are the higher truths of Jupiter. If you stop lying to your goddamn self, the truth resonates on a whole different level. You understand? So when you're talking about intellect being the highest form, or intuition being the highest form of your intellect, yeah, fuck what you think, fuck what you feel. When the intuition kicks in, nothing will corrupt that. Not even your insecurities will get in the way of you honoring what you feel and why you feel the way you feel it. And what I like to tell people is sometimes you got to allow your discernment to kick in. And this is when you don't jump the gun. Because a lot of time when this intuitive part kicks in, you know when to shut the fuck up. You know when to allow things to just drop into your lap. You know when to allow clarity to come. You even know when to allow people to just tell on their motherfucking self. I don't gotta hurry up and rush into something. And you also know when to not allow yourself to get in a situation where you know damn well it's eventually gonna end up where you getting hurt. Right? You know, in Boys in the Hood, I just thought about this as I'm speaking. My mind just pulled this up, right? If you think about that Boys in the Hood, and y'all remember in when Trey he was in the back seat and that music was playing. Then he said, "Let me out, though. No, let me out." He didn't want to go on that lick no more. His intuition kicked in. Something kicked in. You get like, oh, I ain't gonna do this shit. You get what I'm saying? So when something kicks in, do you trust it? Do you follow it? Right? Or do you totally ignore it? So this is what I'm referring to when the intuition takes over and now becomes the highest form of your intellectual property. Now, nurturing as divine leadership is so powerful because with the Kazemi becomes a radiant spiritual God, leading us not outward but inward, right? To the place where God lives in the gut,
Hey,
right?
Balky.
Where truth arises not from thought but from feeling. If you think you feel, there is no thought that is separate from an emotion. Once this awareness is there, you can never lose it, right? The intuition, the knowing of God can come upon you as a natural consequence. I'm telling you. If you fall into that and trust that, sometimes you might not even know why you know what you know. You might not even understand where it came from. But this is relying on a higher intuition, the guru. All right. So when you're dealing with the real life influence, this is gonna deal with a lot of events shifting in the collective, especially around reform, especially in the maternal and the women's health policies. You're about to see a lot of this shift. Y'all know I like to give some real life examples, and I want y'all to look for this. Focusing on home-based education and even intuitive parenting and emotional development, even moving towards ancestral land rights, right? Sacred heritage and water restoration. So you're gonna watch a lot of water restoration projects into a lot of places starting to happen. Even heightened awareness around emotional labor, caregiving, safe spaces, all that type of stuff. Even increasing intuitive holistic healing professions, somatic therapy, womb healing, even trauma informed practices, especially doula work, death doula work. All this is going to be coming into fruition after this Cancer new moon kind of hits or during this Cancer season.
You hear what he said?
Now, when you coming into the impacts on the body and the nervous system, all right, this is going to be also activating with the sacral chakra. We're going to be dealing with the womb and memory and creation. So if you're anybody dealing with aspects of the womb, we also dealing with the sacral. This can be dealing with shifts in your mood, shifts in your eating habits. All right, the heart chakra is going to open up more compassion and forgiveness and divine mother energy. Even conversations with your mother or daughters or mothers and children, a lot of things could be happening around this area, especially with the sacral chakra. A lot of feeling, a lot of emotional. It's like humanity is gonna be restored. We're gonna start feeling each other for a goddamn difference. Don't be surprised if somebody come to you and they normally you normally feel like they full of shit. I'm tell you straight up. You gonna feel like, what the fuck made them out of all this time? They just finally, yeah, a bunch of people, they look guilty conscious finna eat their ass up. I'm tell you straight up. Bunch of people who know they wrong. And you know how people just use can bury that shit and you can just look at them and be like, how the fuck can you do that shit knowing you ain't right? Yeah, that shit they finna have to face. They finna have to face the piper. They might be doing a lot of temperature checking, reaching out to see. Basically, is y'all all right? Acting like they want to know is you all right. Okay, so just be mindful of that type of energy. All right, and a lot of it might come from family. So just be mindful of that type of shit. Now, emotional security, even gut instinct, willpower is gonna be kicking in more. The solar plexus energy. Of course, this heightens every time during the summertime because it deals with the parasympathetic nerve. So our nervous system is more on go during the summer, and especially during Gemini and Cancer season, specifically because you're dealing with the sun entering a different cycle, especially after the summer solstice. All right, we just had the summer solstice that hit with a lot of this as well. So we're dealing with a lot of knowing and cellular memory and also memory retrieval. All right. So you're going to start to remember a lot of things that you probably thought that you forgot. And if you pay attention, you might not be forgetting as many things that you used to forget. This is heightened mental activity. All right. Now, if you are having brain fog, get you some potassium. Of course, y'all know I got some herbs in here you can utilize as well. Now, dealing with the nervous system alone, because cancer rules the parasympathetic nervous system, right? Now, this also dealing with the rest and digest mode, all right? So that's why we go from less stress, more rest, right? When we deal with the winter time, all right? That's kind of what happens in fall and winter, less stress, more rest, because the sympathetic nerve comes online. The parasympathetic nerve deals with rest and digestion, right? So even if the system is stressed out, see people eating off stress, working off stress, walking off stress, right? The sun got you, outside got you with the stress, right? But your digestive tract might be going through some changes, okay? Now, this can equate to gallbladder. This can equate to testosterone, estrogen levels, also in how your body retains and maintains those um, acidic fluids that the stomach needs. All right. Now, Jupiter's expansion here may amplify a lot of emotional triggers, but also deepen the emotional release at the same goddamn time. So it's going to awaken some somatic memory, trauma stored in the womb, the belly, or the gut. So all that waste around the gut, the love handles and shit like that. It's a good time to really work on those. Do some somatic healing, some deep breath, all right, things to help release that stored energy. Even doing some things with touch and even humming and tapping and all that kind of shit will help as well. Okay. So creating a healing wave of relaxation, especially when engaging with water, music, or maternal energy, speaking to the water. Anybody that's been around me personally, anybody that's done seen me operate, you know I speak to my water before I drink it. Everything becomes ritualistic when you deal with the water. This is why showers can be so refreshing. A bath can be so refreshing. Think about the power of water and what it does for you when you take a good ass shower after a long day of dealing with a lot of different people. You cut some music on while you're in the bathroom. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is when you combine the power with music and water. And why we love our bathrooms and how sacred it can be to us when, especially for women. Oh my God. You know, that bathroom is sacred for women. You know, men, we in and out of there, but I spend a lot more time in there than the average man. I ain't gonna even hold you. So I can be a little bougie in the bathroom. I need my time in the bathroom, okay? Because of course I got a cancer south node, so the water is very sacred to me. I recharge in the water, right? Showers, especially when I'm dealing with people all day long, taking on people's thoughts and emotions, crying with people. Hell, even when I channel in certain readings and shit, like I take on all that emotional stuff. I gotta find some place to renew me, and the water is a very powerful place for that, especially with a Scorpio moon. And with the Scorpio moon, I give y'all one more peek into it. I like to take my showers and shit in the dark, okay? But don't judge me. Don't nobody come for me. All right. If you somebody that like taking showers in the dark, you might got some Scorpio placement because I don't mind showering in the dark. It's just a whole nother feeling for me. It actually puts me back in the womb. It's a trip, right? So when you are comfortable with the darkness, comfortable with being in the womb, you even saw this in the Avatar 2, The Way of the Water, right? And they taught them at the end when they was about to die. He told them, stop fighting. You are one with the water. From the waters you came, to the waters you shall return. Be one with the water. Bruce Lee say, be like water, my friends. All right. So water flows or it crashes, god damn it. Okay. So you dealing with a lot of even with this energy of the physical healing themes around this healing womb related trauma, PCOS, all right, infertility. That has a lot to do with that, even endometriosis, the nervous system repairing, especially the vagus nerve. This has a lot to do with the summer solstice as well. So emotional gut brain healing is what you're going to experience. Now, this can be with IBS, ulcers, emotional eating, can be a very huge cause of this or a very huge sign that you're dealing with this. This is not a cause, it's a sign. Diseases manifest as a sign that energy has already began to become stagnant or now is in a dis-ease. Now physical ailment must ensue. Anybody that's taking my Reiki level one course, which we will go into the Reiki level one course, to
Put
my
your
students that are in here after this, we're gonna jump into that after
put
we're done
your
with this. All right.
box
So
on top of it.
who was that? Oh, can you mute your mic for me, please? Thank you. Now, when you're dealing with how to utilize this energy to its highest potential, the womb ritual, regardless of gender, right? Place your hands on your belly, breathe deeply, speak to the womb as the holy manger. All right. Now, even you don't gotta have a womb, you got a womb of correction because you got a sacral chakra. So, brothers, right below your navel, all right, will be your seat of the womb. Okay. So say out loud, under the mothers before me. All right. So I reclaim the wisdom in my blood. Now, the water ceremony here is something you can also use. Of course, I got some journal prompt stuff for y'all to tap into. I'm even some mantra work, right, that you can tap into that's very Jupiter related. And as you can see, that has to do with a lot of Nayo, Bhavakate, and Vashuveya. Activate Jupiter's guru energy or frequency. So use rose, lotus, or myrrh oils to anoint the heart and the womb, a sacred practice. Now, these are just tools to help you out throughout this process, okay? Now, I want to touch on the impact that it's going to have on the chakras, of course. All right, because y'all know I love to touch on the chakras. And once again, if you are interested in joining my Reiki Level 1 course, it is not too late. You can get into that course. We'll be going into week two, and we're on the study group night for week two tonight. And once again, we're going to tap into that class as soon as I'm done here. All right. So when you deal with this energy of the new moon and also dealing with cancer ruling the stomach, the breast, the diaphragm, the vagus nerve, rest and digest loop, all right, and the emotional body's water memory, right? So when those luminaries fuse with Jupiter here, right, you dealing with a power, they pour a superconductive wave of feeling, intuition, cellular recall through the human energy field. Right now, here is the integrated look at how that looks because when you're dealing with the chakra, you're dealing with resonance of overload points. All right, this is going to deal with the autonomic nervous system. Now, this is also dealing with the ANS responses, the somatic symptom that you may notice. Right, practical balancing tools for this, especially water, sound, and nutrition and movement. And as you can see, the sun and move here, you're going to deal with a parasympathetic surge. All right, through the stomach and the vagus nerve, even the intercostals, even the rapid gut brain axis downloads with the Mercury energy. So get out in nature and expansion and some warm memory is gonna be heightened, opened up with this rewiring your sensitivity, your insight. That's gonna have a lot to do with that Mercury sextile Venus energy, Venus trine Chiron, the heart and the thymus activation. That's gonna be a somatic release of old identity wounds, self love and courage, right? Dealing with this at play. Now we're dealing with Mars square Pluto and Saturn. This is gonna deal with tension in the jaw and the neck, right? So you might in the psoas. The psoas is more so where the bottom of that floor is, and it's like fighting with the flights and the spikes against that energy and against the body. So slow motion detoxes and lymphatic fascia, sleep dream recalibration, pressure power shifting, grounding, boundary surrender, and mystical order is what you want to tap into with this. Basically trusting your intuition and falling into a pattern that actually feeds your nervous system versus keeping your shit jacked up. It's what breathing, barefoot walking comes into play, as you can see. So there are some things that you can incorporate to help you ground your nervous system and ground yourself during this energy. Cause this cancer energy might get a little thick for some of y'all, all right? If it ain't already, okay? So when you're dealing with the regulation of the nervous system, a 10-minute energy, cancer circuit that kind of deals with that. All right. So when you're dealing with water touch, 1 minute, You're dealing with 1 to 2 minutes with the vagus hum, and you're dealing with 4 to 8 breaths of 2 to 4 minutes that expands across that. And you see the self hold, 4 to 6 minutes. The eye softening, 6 to 7 minutes. And then you're going to deal with a 10 minute, the end and the final 10 minutes, of the last 3 minutes of the 10 minutes. You're going to deal with grounding, sip some warm, immune, infused herbal tea. Now, you can do all this tonight, okay, if you want to do that. Now, remember, like I always say, the full moons or the new moons and both moons energy is always present, like 3 days before and 3 days after. It's just the power of the new and the full moon energy. All right. Now here's some things you can apply. Of course, is herbs and things like that that can help you. If you are dealing with these energies on an intense level, all right, you can use some of these herbs here to help you out. And I have a couple of combinations that you can put together with the measurements and everything. All right, so you won't be figuring out. Sensei said put them herbs, and I don't know how to put them together. Well, now I'm telling you how to put them together, and I'm telling you, only thing I ain't doing is drinking them for you. All right. So remember, if you're not dealing with these issues now, you don't got to drink these herbs. Okay. These herbs are also preventative measures. So if you are feeling like you kind of deal with this, but you might not be dealing with it tonight, but you see some of these symptoms that you normally deal with, feel free to use some of these herbal remedies. And once again, I love to give my disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, but I am a holistic practitioner. And I would say consult your physician before taking any of these herbs, or consult a holistic practitioner before you do. Now here goes some journal prompts as well that I'm going to give you all. Of course, this is just kind of the beginning of the journal prompts, but when I listen to what my belly tells me, my mother memory, I am ready to release and reclaim. What reclaim is, right? And balance safely feels like this in my nervous system. So you can put whatever words you want to put there. And of course, one of the closing mantras or the closing mantra I got for you is my waters remember, my nerves soften, my heart expands, I flow with feeling, I ground with breath, I rise with love. All right. So y'all know I like to put together y'all some beautiful mantras here and all that good shit, okay? Now, when you're dealing with this lunation, of course, one of the main things I want to touch on, especially with this kind of aspect of coming into this seven sister energy. All right, the seven sisters of Pallades. Okay, now this is dealing with celestial geometry, right? Now, why would we? Because when you're dealing with this resonating with the Pallades, the seven sisters, this is what dealing with the M45 star constellation, right? This happens at 0 to 1 degrees at Gemini. All right. Now, even though the cluster sits in one sign behind the lunation of the two zones, right, share the same sidereal declination and a corridor. So they're creating a resonant bridge, the seven sisters. This is how the seven sisters are created, because you're dealing with a constellation that bridges the gap between what we know as sidereal and also tropic astrology, or the west and the east. This is also why you will see a lot of times when you see the moon. Now, for those of you who don't understand sidereal Vedic astrology, it just deals with the signs being one sign behind where we are now. All right, so especially if your sign or your sun sign is within the first 20 degrees of a sign, 9 times out of 10, if you turn that sign back, you will become the sun sign behind you, right? So for me in Vedic, because my sun sign is in 7 degrees, I would literally be a Taurus sun sign in Vedic astrology. So I'm just telling you the difference. Now, when you bridge the gap between those things at certain times of the year through certain corridors or certain declinations, this is where the resonance of the seven sisters, the whispers is insight, the Cancer new moon gestates them. So the mystical lineage of the seven sisters, a modern esoteric mapping into those links into each chakra and the chakra womb gate, right, through which cosmic data becomes biology. It is through the seven sisters to where cosmic data becomes your biology. This is the wisdom of the great mother. This is when you hear the wisdom of the Sophias, the wisdom of the oracles, the wisdom of the great mother speaking to your body. It's why your mama cycle stop in order to have you. This is why she must go through a gestation and her stomach must swell. Otherwise, it's guaranteed that you will have some type of ailments if you were born prematurely, right? So this just lets you know if you don't go through the full gestation, right, something equivalently is going to be wrong with your body. It's just the way this energy goes, right? Science will teach you that. And now you understand the correlation of why we go through the gestation because you are out of the zodiacs. All right. So when you're dealing with this aspect of the spiritual and the mundane and the somatic ripples that can happen through you, right? The chart mapping, find where Palladian is in your chart. Y'all know I love to give y'all how to see this energy and make it real for your life. Note the houses and any planets within 27 degrees, right? Taurus, 4 degrees, Gemini, right? That is a seven sister specter. Look opposite 27 degrees at 4 degrees Cancer, 4 degrees Sagittarius. Those bodies become receivers for the star mother download. So track 5 degree Cancer placements, the new moon womb. Those two sectors from a semi-sextile to a signed adjacent bond, subtle, right? But subtle, right? Potent nerve fiber between the idea of Gemini and the feeling Cancer. All right. So I'm just showing you how you can literally see a bunch of these correlations in your own birth chart. All right, because there's a power in them. Hold on one second here. There's a power in them that allows you to really understand who you are and why you experience certain things the way you experience them. I'm about to get back to the screen sharing, y'all. All right, give me one second here. Now, when you coming into the power of this energy, all right, here we go here. Uh, Okay, there we go. So when you come into the power of this energy, this seven sister energy is so dynamic because you talking about the connection that we have from the stars to the womb and how we are all made up of 93% stardust, right? And you can literally find this in your birth chart. All right. So once again, if you are interested in getting your own personal breakdown, I'll be helping you understand what this looks like in your birth chart. All right. So when you're dealing with the biblical echoes, can you bind the sweet influences of Pallades? Job. That's Job, right? I said Job. Job 38 and 31. Go look up these references, y'all. You cannot make this shit up, okay? I'm just giving y'all how the Bible is esoteric. You know what I mean? Some people might have left when I started talking like this, but that's just you, okay? But when you start understanding that Cancer new moon, so feels watery chalice. Jupiter, often encoded as the anointed king, enters the chalice, echoing Revelation's image, right? The social engineering, the dormancy of the star, mother, current, right? We focus on black women's experience. Cause you talking about the bond, when you talking about forces that effectively bound the Pallades, right? Silencing intuitive nature of women, cyclical, right? The star mother wisdom. What binded that? Realigning the seven sister flame, right? Practical keys is something that you can use to put your flame back together. Combine Cancer New Moon with water rituals, right? And when you can look up and see the previous message that I put up there. So when you look at combining this and that example with the timeline of June 25th through July 10th, this is gonna be through the next to the full moon. The full moon is gonna be a full buck moon. All right. Well, of course, y'all know I'll be back in the building with another workshop. So the full moon is going to be in Capricorn. All right. So just look into that gestation. I got some journal prompts to help you out and going into that. But I really want y'all, because you might not hear the understanding of these seven sisters in your bloodline, right? And I bind no light. I lose the sweet influence of the seven sisters in my blood. I bind no light. I let it flow into womb, word, and the world. That's the power of the feminine principle. All right. I want somebody, can you please hashtag that for me? I want somebody to post that. I would need everybody to post that for me. All right. Post that for me. Let's make that go viral. I need every woman to. I wish I could have. I made this Zoom free. So you see how many people really interested in learning some shit. But I really want y'all to understand that this council port is going to restore the star mother wisdom encoded into every cell, right? And may black women in all other mother life, right, feel that code, radiant and unbound. Because when you talking about this mother code and the energy of that, it is through the mother where we birth nations. All right. You want to change the world, you change the mothers. All right. So embrace that energy of that. all right, because it's going to be very powerful as we come into this, breaking this energy into fruition. And another thing I want to touch on, all right, and of course, y'all know I got the rest kind of in fruition for when you want to go into this PDF and kind of look at your sun, moon, rising, and also your midhaven. But I want to touch into two of the main aspects that is going to be activated with this energy. There's going to be people with Chiron in Cancer and North Node in Cancer. All right, so these people are going to be heavily impacted with this because the soul mission is dealing with the North Node and dealing with the wounded healer things around Chiron, and Jupiter's conzima is going to be a divine expansion into that. So womb memory, ancestral healing, emotional rebirth is going to happen for these people. All right, so those of you who have Chiron in Cancer, even if you got Chiron in the fourth house, North Node in the fourth house. Even if you got South Node in the fourth house, this is still going to be very influential to you. My South Node is in the fourth house, right? So this moon is going to be activating a lot of old codes from past life experiences, and whatever I need to expand on in this life is going to be revealed to me. All right. So, and in Vedic, my Jupiter is in Cancer, so I'm having a Jupiter return in Vedic astrology, right? So a lot of this going to be dealing with the alignment that activates these this energy in the North Node, because you're invited to a powerful soul reckoning with home belonging, safety, roots, womb and inner child healing, family karma, and the divine mother archetype in your life. Right. So soul growth theme. I'm learning to become emotionally available and nurturing and rooted. Now, the reason why I put this in here, because remember I said that we are Cancerian by nature. So a lot of us can resonate with this, even if you don't have Chiron in Cancer or Chiron in the fourth house. All right. So this is going to be an accelerated evolution in the window into the new moon with the Jupiter Cazimi conjunct, illuminating your north node in the fourth house, meaning your karmic path is now being super activated. The old Capricorn scripts of control, achievement, suppression, and vulnerability must dissolve. You are being called to mother yourself and others, to nurture, not just build, to feel, not just perform. That resonates to me that's all of us right there. A lot of us are being forced to feel and not just perform. All right. Now, when you talking about you may receive visions, dreams, intuitive downloads showing you your soul's true calling, it is time to root into your emotional truth instead of escaping into the status of productivity. Ancestral skills and wisdom from your maternal lineage may return. So, some ways for you to work with this energy. Of course, therefore I got for you. Now, I was heard around emotional safety, family, the mother, or belonging. This is the theme of this healing period. All right. Now, not just for the Chiron and Cancer energy, but definitely for us overall as a people, knowing that we watched our mothers go through so much, and that could equate it to the way we deal with our own emotional baggage. So we dropping the baggage. It's time for the bag later to drop the baggage. All right. So Jupiter's Kazemi, even dealing with this, what this new moon of Kazemi here is a core room with not being nurtured, feeling unwanted or emotionally neglected, especially in childhood or maternal dynamics. Deep pain around being emotionally expressive, overly sensitive, or carrying your family's burdens. Right? And I'm telling you, I got a South Node in Cancer, so or in the fourth house, so I'm feeling all of that. Now, Jupiter conjunct the sun and the moon is healing balm of the truth, right? He illuminates the gift within the world. So you may receive clarity about the original womb and how what it taught you, a chance to forgive the mother, the family, or your past self as well. A mystical realization that your wound is your medicine, right? You are the medicine, you know? Now, when you're dealing with how to work with to write a letter to your inner mother, to write a letter to your inner mother or your inner child, to your inner child, right? Use water, bathing, crying, ocean. A lot of y'all might have been crying out of nowhere. Oceans, tours to facilitate emotional release. Initiate or join a family constellation or somatic therapy to release inherited traumas. All right, now you're dealing with Mercury, because planetary support for the healing and expansion, called Mercury in the Cancer sextile and Uranus and Taurus, right? Rewriting the nervous system for external expression using journaling, Venus and Leo, heart center healing around those identity expression, your emotional truth with creativity, art, dance, performance. Saturn retrograde in Pisces, reflecting on ancestral wounds may have been created especially around escapist patterns. Now transmute them with compassion and structure. So the womb of the mother line connection, because cancer rules that, and the mother of the gut, the mitochondrial DNA inherited solely from the mother, the parasympathetic nervous system, memory stored in water, emotional, cellular, and ancestral. So if you got this energy, here's some things that you could incorporate into your life or into tonight. All right, I would say incorporate into your life. Don't just do it tonight. Okay. Now, some of the mantras for this is: I am safe to remember, I am safe to feel, I am safe to be nurtured. My womb is the womb of my wisdom. I like that one. All right. My womb is the womb of my wisdom. Okay. So now listen for your shadows. Listen for your shadows. All right. Listening is still feeling. Okay. So if you resist this transit, you could experience a lot of emotional overwhelming, family triggers, sleep disruption, somatic flare-ups in the stomach, the womb, or the chest, right? Regression into isolation or emotional shutdown. So make sure you integrate into this energy and don't allow yourself to go back into some reverted sense of being and not dealing with your emotion, not speaking up for yourself, not honoring your truth. Honor your truth. All right. If you need a little bit of fuck them people, make sure you book a reading, get a consultation with me, and I got you. Okay. Now, of course, this part is just going to be dealing with telling you how you can kind of go into dealing with your sun signs, your moon signs, and also dealing with the ascendants, and also the ritual will be inside of the PDF as well. All right. So with that being said, I want to open up the floor for any questions. If anybody got any questions about what I went over, I know I said a lot of stuff. All right. And if you don't forget, if you want to get your own personal breakdown, make sure you get it because I will be putting a lot of that together tonight. I'll be making sure I get to everybody who's booked it tonight. And if you want, once again, if you do not have the full $99, just let me know what you got. Even if you're feeling generous and you want to just donate something for the PDF and for my time. I just put my Cash App in the chat. If you don't have Cash App, I have Zelle and all of that good stuff as well. The Zelle will be my phone number, so I put my phone number in the chat as well. So I'm open to any donations and all that good stuff. And also, once again, make sure that you book your transit reading if you want the in-depth reading, and you all will be getting the PDF along with the replay email back out to you, everybody that was on the email list. So I know I said a lot of stuff, so I want to open up the floor for any questions. Do anybody have any questions or anything about what I just went over here tonight?
Hey, Sensei, this is Tiffany. I actually don't have any questions, but I just thought it was interesting how you were talking about the doula. And, I talked to you about I wanted to become a doula, death doula, birth doula. And today I actually signed up Crystal out here, Crystal at the Goddess Collection. She's dropping her seminar in October. And now I'm out here. So I paid for that today because I was like, her price is real low. And I was like, you know what? Don't wait. It don't matter if you don't start it now. You that's something you want to do. But yeah, so I was like, wow. So that was just confirmation that I'm on the right track. It was exciting for you to say that.
That is confirmation for sure, for sure. And you already know, Tiff, I'm happy for you because I know what type of journey this is gonna start for you. Okay.
Man, telling you, I done moved to Louisiana and done opened up a whole new world.
That's what's up. So appreciate you sharing, beloved.
Hey, Sensei, it's Lisa.
Peace. Lisa, what up?
Hey, 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 peace to the Zoom, everybody here getting this knowledge. Sensei, I've been crying all day, okay? I am
Wow.
not a crier at all. I don't cry. I cried today. I cried yesterday. I cried the day before yesterday. And I'm just like, you know what? What's up with me? This moon is hit me hard. And I didn't sleep a wink the night before last or last night. And I mean up all night. Just reacting with the atmosphere. And it was crazy because I was in this class that I had to really be about it for the last 3 days. So I was cranky and tired and emotionally a wreck because of this whole cancer thing. And I'm a Leo sun, which means I'm a Vedic cancer. Okay. And I don't claim that at all. Don't claim it. Okay. But
Mm-hmm.
I totally felt it. I totally felt it. So I am looking forward to this getting better because I know that it's like a portal. You got to kind of go through it. And that means go through all the emotions and the shadow and everything that's tied into it to get to, a better aspect. And we have 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm. You
Oh,
better know it. And that's why
okay.
this will be taking us kind of what, the way these energies work out, I would say we'll be kind of in this part of your gestation and you can kind of see it playing out coming into Capricorn season for you. All right.
Yeah, I knew it. That's why I reached out to you yesterday. I already knew. I was just walking and crying, like how little kids be just tired, walking and crying,
Mm-hmm.
little babies. That's exactly how I felt yesterday. So,
You can't make it up. And I tell
no, we
people all the
cannot make it.
time, literally people with Cancer moons, that's the crybaby moon. So don't feel bad. People with Cancer moons, they'll tell you right now, just welcome to their world. Okay. So appreciate you, Lisa. Anybody else got any questions?
Peace and blessings, Sensei.
Peace, peace, peace.
I just have a question in relation to I have my Jupiter's in Cancer, so I just wanted to see how that this moon was affecting or this whole planetary transit was affecting people with Jupiter in Cancer.
Oh yeah. And that is because you're having a Jupiter return.
Yeah,
All
and it's in
right.
the 12th house as well, so
Yeah, so that would automatically bring in a lot of spiritual gifts and all that awakening for you. It can be an expansion of that in the area of your life. So if you say you got Jupiter in Cancer in the 12th house, so what do you have? A Gemini rising?
no,
I mean,
Leo.
Leo rising, my bad. So you got a Leo rising. So automatically that is going to give you a lot of energy when it comes to your vitality, right? And how you kind of use that type of energy. Because Leo, that's going to be the 12th house, is going to be a lot of reclaiming. It's going to be a lot of surrendering, a lot of inner mastery. Now you could be getting a lot of ancestral dreams here too. All right. So a lot of those dreams could be coming out for you, especially when you're dealing with your rising being there. Cause what is your moon sign?
Scorpio,
Oh
Sun in
yeah.
Taurus.
Oh yeah. So especially in by you dealing with that Scorpio moon sign, it's gonna open up a lot of transformational experiences. Cause my moon is Scorpio.
Mhm.
Alright, so it's gonna be a lot of deep introspection, a lot of yeah, I would definitely say if you want to get that breakdown, beloved, make sure you hit me up and I'll give you a personal breakdown because then I get to look at your degrees and I get to help you understand like purely what's going on in your chart, especially in relation to you having a Jupiter return and how that is going to be influenced by this new moon. Because yeah, that means you got a heavy influence of Cancer in your chart and especially in your life.
Yeah, I've just been feeling really indifferent these last couple of days. Kind of
Oh no,
apathetic.
it's your inner guru. That part, that's gonna be a lot of not giving a fuck about how people feel and honoring how the fuck you feel.
Yeah, that's pretty much where it's headed.
Yeah, and a lot of hidden enemies could be revealed to you too.
Ain't that some?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome, beloved. And don't hesitate to get that breakdown now. It'll be
No,
worth it, all right?
I'm not. I'm not. I'm looking into it now.
Okay. And remember, if y'all can't afford the breakdown, just let me know what you got and I'll work with you, okay? So anybody got any questions?
Yo, what's up, Sensei?
Peace, 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 beloved.
Yo, I wanted to know how can Capricorn deal with the energy of the new moon in Cancer?
Capricorn?
Yes, sir.
So basically what would Capricorns be dealing with around this time?
Yes,
Well,
sir.
you
Cause
know,
I know somebody that dealing with like family problems and they reaching back out to them type shit and they don't know what to do type shit.
yeah, because the opposite of Capricorn is Cancer, family. Capricorns a lot of times will feel like they ain't got time to be dealing with people and they shit. You understand? So when you dealing with this as Capricorn as a sun sign, a lot of them going to, because that puts a lot of their solar principle in the seventh house. All right, so there's gonna be a lot of partnerships and contracts and mirrored feelings and shit, right? So it's gonna be a lot of a lot of emotional bylaws and shit, right? So that's creating a couple a moon bath and shit like that, like the heart chakra. Reciprocity is what they're gonna be dealing with. All right, they're gonna be dealing with finding how to honor their own emotions and not allowing people to make them feel used and unappreciated and shit. You get what I'm saying? And especially centered around family. So if they done already set boundaries, they done already said what they ain't gonna do, and they already done made this declaration. Yeah, they might be testing it how they gonna walk that walk. All right.
Oh yeah, they definitely already they made that declaration weeks ago. I say shit. One or 2 months.
That's gonna be any declaration that we done made about honoring our own, especially Capricorns, because now you're gonna have to match that with the inner authority. And that might mean that you gotta honor that you can't just walk away without honoring that your actions or your lack of actions have made somebody feel some type of way too. Because you don't want to just leave no energy just there. So deal with the energy, be accountable, and then you can walk away with a more cleaner slate, I would say. So
Right,
get that.
right. For
Mm-hmm.
sure. For sure. That's a deep one because yeah, emotions are high.
Yes. Because people want their feelings to be honored right now. So this is people that's fighting the emotional accountability that's coming with this energy. Right? So it is a level of accountability. I said this in the clubhouse room just a while ago. It ain't just always about honoring that somebody made you feel some type of way. Sometimes you got to honor that your actions or your lack of action that made somebody feel some type of way too. You got to be present for that shit too. All right. So that was a good one. Appreciate that.
Yeah, what they said when you point the finger, 3, 4, or 5, point back.
Every time. Can't escape it because you can't escape you. Anybody else?
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, beloved. Anybody else? Now put my cash up in there. Anybody feeling generous now? Don't hesitate to send me some donations now. Okay. Now, anybody else got any questions? All right. All right, I appreciate y'all. And this replay, y'all will be getting a PDF and all that stuff as well. And don't forget if you do want to book your individual transit reader, make sure you get it. And also the replay will be on my YouTube. So if you want think somebody can benefit from it and go listen to it, let them check it out. All right. So don't nobody else have any questions, I'll let y'all go. And I appreciate you all. And those of you who will be joining the Reiki Level 1 class, we're about to start here in a couple of minutes. All right. So appreciate you all once again for your time, your energy, and all that good stuff. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night and enjoy this new moon energy. All right. And don't forget to honor your emotions and allow the truth to make you free. All right. Peace and love, beautiful souls. Namaste.